Shalom, everyone. I encourage each and one of you guys to take a moment and listen to this week's Parasha. And this week's Aliyah is going to be Bereshit, chapter 18, verses 1 through 14. Now, Bereshit in Hebrew, but it's basically called Genesis. I'm going to go ahead and dive into the reading of the portion, and then I'll go ahead and talk a little bit about what we just read. In the name of Yeshua, here we go. Adonai appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre, while he was sitting at the entrance of his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my Lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under the tree. Let me get you something to eat, so you can be refreshed and then go on your way, now that you have come to your servant." "Very well," they answered. "Do as you say." So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. "Quick," he said, "get the 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread." Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice and tender calf and gave it to the servant who hurried to prepare it. He then brought some curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared and set these before them. While they ate, he stood near them under a tree. "Where is your wife Sarah?" they asked him. "There in the tent," he said. Then one of them said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Now Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah already were very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, "After I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure?" Then Adonai said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Will I really have a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for me? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son.'" So here we're kind of like wondering, Adonai just said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Shall I indeed bear a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for Elohim? At the appointment time, I will return to you about this time of next year, and Sarah shall have a son." Now, Genesis chapter 18, verses 13 through 14. We can think about, why did Sarah laugh? Well, both Abraham Avinu and his wife Sarah laughed when listening to the news of their son's future birth. This shows us that in the first place that they were happy people who expressed their feelings. Their relationship with the Eternal consisted not only of a serious and reverent fear, but also of joy and happiness, as it is written in Psalm 16:11. "You make known to me the path of life. In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures foreversome." In the second place from this passage, we can draw a very deep teaching. The majority mind, if not everyone's, are limited to what we have learned. Men were made with a certain creative mind that looks for solutions and moves on to new things and fresh ideas. And we can clearly see this in children whose minds are not closed to ideas due to previous learning. Because their brains, they just haven't had a long time to collect information. They are more open to learning new things and to coming up with new ideas. Children can teach adults many, many things, especially to be open to new ideas. Fantasy and creativity are good and necessary to be able to walk with the Creator, whose mind is not limited by anything. He is always making things new, as it is written in Numbers 16:30. "But if Adonai creates something new," and also in Isaiah 49, verse 19, "Behold, I am doing a new thing, now in the springs forth. Do you not persevere it?" And also, lastly, in Revelations chapter 21, verse 5, And he who has seated on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. So Abraham and Sarah were almost 100 years old. Their minds worked mainly based on the routine by what they have learned. And even if their minds had been open due to what they experienced when coming out of their small world to live in other countries, their thoughts were still limited for what the Eternal wanted to do in their lives. When the angel came to announce the birth of their son, they could not receive such a wonderful message. Their reaction was common to most people with a limited and narrow mind. They thought it was a joke. The divine news caused a confrontation with all they had learned throughout their lives, and that caused them to laugh. The name of Yitzhak means he will laugh. And it is related to what our fathers did when they received such a message of a supernatural birth. The angel's answer when Sarah laughed was, Is anything too hard for the Eternal? The expression that was translated as too hard in Hebrew, its root basically has to do with something hidden or covered up. In Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 11, it is used as something hidden from all understanding, something unthinkable. Here, it is about something that is out of ordinary. The Targum translates it as follows. Is there anything too wonderful, distant, and hidden from me so that I do my will? This shows us that the angel challenged the narrow minds of our fathers, Abraham and Sarah. When we are dealing with the Eternal, our minds should not interfere with our perception of His power, knowledge, and ability to intervene in the most surprising and wonderful way. The Eternal can do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us. Ephesians 3:20. So let's be careful not to get in His way with our minds, and let's not laugh in disbelief when a supernatural idea comes up that breaks away from our mindset. May Elohim give us a week full of new ideas, guided by His creative Ruach. Shalom.